Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Green, and I'm recording the Statistics 4.2 Study 1. Now, I realize we're doing Unit 4 before we're doing Unit 1, so you just got to be a little bit confused here a little bit, and don't worry about it. I put this cartoon up here because I wanted to talk about it a little bit. It's got two characters talking, and one of them says, "A weighted random number generator just produced a new batch of numbers." The other one says, "Let's use them to build narratives." And this is basically how all sports commentary is put together. It's just seemingly like they use random number generators to actually do their work. What's a random number generator? We'll get to that a little bit later on, but I just wanted to make certain I put that cartoon up there because it does make a little bit of sense. What we're talking about is producing data. And we're going to use samples and experiments to do this, okay? And as I said, a lot of what you're going to find in the AP test is you have to follow a prescribed method for doing things. And if you do it their method, you're going to get some points for doing it, okay? So what they're talking about this time is a couple of terminology things. One of them is called a simple random sample. What you're doing here is you're taking a number. You number your population off. You just figure out how many you've got, and you use a method to randomly select the desired sample size of the entire population. Remember, we're using a sample size of the entire population because taking the entire population might be too difficult, or it might destroy the population as we're taking it, or something like that. So we have to take a sample of it in some way. There's some advantages to doing this. It says every member of the population always has an equal chance of being selected. And the disadvantage is the sample may not be representative of the population. And it's very difficult to come up with, especially with very large populations. Sometimes it might be difficult to come up with a sample size that works. Okay? So let's go forward here just a little bit. Another method of doing this is called a block random sample. And this is what we're going to do is we're going to divide the population into clusters. Now, what do I mean by clusters? Well, if you took the population of American males in the United States, one way that you might divide them up might be by race. And you could say that the white males are on one side, the black males on another side, the Latino males are on another side. These would be different clusters that you would have. And then you use a method to randomly select one or more of the clusters, and use a method to randomly select from the chosen clusters. Okay? So the advantages of doing this can be, well, if the population is easy to divide, or there are established clusters, it might be real easy to use that one. A disadvantage might be not everyone has an equal chance of being chosen. Selected clusters may not be representative of the entire population. This is used a lot when you start thinking about medical experiments, because they're trying to look at how this drug interacts with the human body, and sometimes it interacts differently in some races over other races, so they want to divide them up and see how it affects both the two different races. This is a very common one that's used there. Another method of doing this might be to divide it up by sexes. So you got the males on one side and the females on another side, because we know some drugs work one way on men and work a different way on women. So you could divide them up that way. That's what would be called a block random sample, because you're dividing them up into clusters. Okay? A stratified random sample, you divide the population into strata, and you use the method to randomly select. The advantages, it guarantees representation from each strata. The disadvantage, not everyone has an equal chance of being chosen in the strata of interest. It may be difficult to determine the population, and it may be laborious to sort them out. Now, this last one is a systematic random sample. You use a sample size and a population size to determine or estimate a magic number, and you use a method to randomly select number using the magic number as a range. Add to determine corresponding sections. Add to determine corresponding selections. The advantage, it allows rapid method to select from large populations, helps provide representation throughout the population. The disadvantage, not everyone has an equal chance of being chosen. Sample may not be representative of the entire group, of the entire population. I'm going to throw one more in here. It's a multi-stage random sample. You use this method, you're going to either use a simple random sample or a block random sample or a stratified random sample to randomly select large groups, and then use another method, a simple random sample, a block random sample, or stratified, to randomly select smaller groups from within the large group you had. And you repeat until the populations are chosen that you want to have. Okay? So what we're going to do in the class Connect this week is I'm going to bring this question up. It says, a sociologist wants to know the opinions of employed adult women about government funding for daycare. She obtains a list of the 520 members of a local business and professional women's club and mails a questionnaire to 100 of these women, selected at random. Only 48 questionnaires are returned. What is the population in the study? What is the sample? We'll talk about that when we get into our class Connect a little bit, but I want to give you a chance to look at it and think about it for a second. Now, I've talked about random several different times. A random number table or a random number generator will generate random numbers for you that you can use to do things with. Now, a random digit table, each entry is equally likely to be any of the 10 digits, and digits are independent of each other. What I'm saying here is if you look at a random number table, you're just going to see a bunch of numbers. Each one is equally likely to be chosen. Each one it's random in order. Okay? Here's an example. Here's a random number table. Okay? It's got rows on it like this, and it's got numbers going across. Okay, what these orange lines on here are trying to tell you is that you can either go across to the right, or you can go across to the left, or you can go up and down, or you can go diagonally, either direction. It doesn't matter because it's randomly generated. You can start here at the 4 and go to the 2, and then the 9, and then the 5, and then the 5, and then the 0, and then the 5, and then the 5, and then the 7, and then the 0, and then the 6, and then the 5. You could bounce around here like a little ping pong ball if you wanted to. It's selecting random numbers. How would you use something like that? Suppose your population consisted of these 20 people. You want to use a random number table down here, random number digits, to select a sample of 5 of these people. Well, how are we going to select 5 of them? Well, I'm going to start with my random number table here, and I'm going to get my pen working here. Hang on a second. Okay, there's my pen. And I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to say, well, 20, that means I need to look at a 2-digit number. So I'm going to look at 45. Do I have 45 people? Nope. I'm just going to ignore that one because I don't need it. Okay? Well, 18. 18 is less than 20. Guess what? I'm going to select the 18th person. It's going to be Tracy right here. Okay. The next number is 05. See, I'm selecting the next 2 digits, 05. Well, that would be Edward over here. So Edward's going to get selected. Okay. The next 2-digit number is 13. 13 was Matthew. I'll select Matthew right there. The next 2-digit number is 71. 71. I'm going to throw that one out. Too big. I don't have it say anything 71. Okay, get something in the way here. Thank you. The next 2-digit number is 01. Well, 01 would be Aiden up here. I'll select Aiden. And how many have I selected? 1, 2, 3, 4. I need one more. So 55. Too big. Can't use it. 80. Too big. Can't use it. Throw it out. 15. Oh, 15 is in my range. 15 is the one I'm going to select, and that'll be Opus here. See how I selected those numbers? It was pretty simple to do. I selected Tracy, Matthew, Opus, Edward, and Aiden. Does that make sense to everyone? That's how you use a random number generator to actually select from a population of people. Cool? Well, where we're at, you've got a couple of practices that you should be working on and some quizzes and things like that. And I've got another study that I'll be recording and putting out here shortly. So good luck. If you have any questions, feel free to K-mail me, email me, IM me, call me, anything of the sorts. I look forward to talking to you, and I'll see you in Class Connect.